right, bang, bang. We have a special guest here on the show. Brian, we got Dustin, we got Price, but introduce yourself a little bit. He is a legend in the golf community, I would say. Just a little background. How I know you've been around the game for a little bit.
Yeah, man. Thanks guys for having me. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's nice to be back talking some golf on a Monday night. But yeah, I've been in the golf DFS space for 5-6 years. I don't know, since inception, probably, whenever that was. Helped launch and start Gups Corner, and kind of been playing around with some other companies here and there, with kind of stepping in on podcasts or content, that kind of thing. But yeah, mainly over the last 18 months or so, just been enjoying the family life. So it's nice to be back. Thanks.
What's your handicap? Just so all the plebs out there can be jealous.
It is sub-0 right now. I've been, again, less DFS, more time to actually play golf and spend time with the family. So the handicap is looking right now.
So you're looking for a caddy and going out there and Monday qualify for a tournament?
No, hell, dude, those guys are so good. So good. I would be lucky to carry a bag for one of them, let alone play.
It's insane when you watch them on TV and you're like, gosh, you would think they're 100 yards out. They could hit it closer on a lot of shots, but they are insane.
I don't know. Do you guys follow the Ace of Case, the guy that goes out and basically he follows around all the Monday qualifiers for every tour event? Like, he's paid by the tour to do it. And so he updates his Twitter feed every Monday, and like, you'll shoot 7-8 under and not get in on a Monday. It's nuts.
And you'll have all these like the course pro will go out there and shoot, really low, like 62, 63, and not even get close to getting out there for those Monday tournaments.
You got to shoot 63, 62, 64 to even have a chance. And so I'll go out there and shoot 70 and get waxed by 10.
The other thing, it was crazy when you see them in real life, not to go on these little tangents, but in basketball, if you go to a game, you sit courtside, they're so tall. And in golf, you think some of these big guys are really big, but they're tiny.
No,
they're tiny.
They're just little guys.
Yeah.
Francisco. I will say the first golf tournament I ever went to back in the day was the Kemper Open here in Maryland. And the first golfer I ever met was Ernie Els. That dude is massive. Huge human being.
Yeah, Dustin and I went to the match play a couple of years ago. So all these guys are tiny, but
well, compared to you, yeah.
Yeah. Like JT and Rory look like middle schoolers. They're so small.
JT $160 soaking wet and just smoking it by everybody.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like they talk about Brooks being such a big guy, and he was basically my type of stature for golf. So it's kind of eye-opening.
He's big compared to.
When you get to the NBA and the guys, a 7-foot guy is ridiculous. Doesn't sound like that big, 6 foot to 7 foot, but always equate it to, if you know somebody that's 6 foot now, do you know somebody that's 5 foot, right?
Yeah.
That's how short.
Yeah. Brooks is big for the golf world, but I'd love to see him next to DK Metcalf or somebody.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Well, we had to bring you on for the party course now.
Yeah.
Over in Scottsdale, the TPC Scottsdale, the stadium course, they're having fans, I think 5,000 fans, but it's not going to be the same. It's well known for the par 3 hole 16. It'd be interesting to see what the environment's like. Then on 17, you have a drivable par 4. A lot of people say it's a risk reward. I don't really think that is. I think in today's golf, you have to go for it. And even if you hit in the water, and yes, we are in the desert, but there is water. So Ryan Palmer, watch out. But you have to go for it. And I think I saw the stat where 40% of the time, even if you hit it in the water, you still will make par. So it's not really that much of a risk reward. I think they're going to beef it up on the broadcast a little bit. But par 70, 71, so there's only 3 par 5s, but they still play an important role. And just to go over a couple of the metrics that I am looking at, strokes gained approach like every week, par 4 scoring. You want to get off the tee. You have Webb Simpson, the champ, who doesn't hit it too far at all, but he hits it in the fairway down the middle. So length does help, but it's obviously not a necessity, especially when you got that short game and putting. So that's kind of the breakdown, little overview. What do you want to start? The 10K range, you have a couple 11K guys. All those guys from 10-1, Webb Simpson, I really like, but all these guys are just studs. And so I don't think there's any going wrong from Jon Rahm down to Webb Simpson.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you can't really go wrong in that range. I do find it interesting that Rory is the fourth most expensive guy, and I guess I can see why based on his putting last week. But it's interesting to me that JT is lower than what Xander and Rahm, and JT is off the charts in I'd assume anybody's model, and he has a couple top threes here the last few years. I mean, the guy's a stud, and I think you're getting super value at 10-8 compared to where Rahm is. Save a couple $100 so you don't have to go too deep in the 6K range.
Where you at, Price?
I know. I'm surprised Rory's here and not over at in Dubai.
Yeah, him and Finau just swapped the lives for a week.
Yeah, I know. But that's going to be the really hard debate for me is JT or Rory because I like them both. I know Rory he putts about as bad as I do. But I do agree that it's smarter to go down and play them instead of Rahm because there's no point in paying up for a guy who's not that much better than them. You might as well take the 400 or 600 in savings.
Yeah, you bring a good point. So I made a lineup. Typically on Monday nights, I make a lineup just pure gut, and I made a lineup. It came down to having to choose Rory or JT, and so I just duplicated the lineup. One Rory, one JT. Let's go.
That's a good problem to have if that's your last person in,
Yeah.
So essentially we like everybody in this range. So we really narrow it down for y'all. Xander though at 11K, do you have any concerns there? He's top 10 once, but he's getting pretty pricey, and I like him at like 10K. I don't necessarily like him at 11K.
I mean, it's tough to jump on Xander when he's smashed in between Rahm and JT. I mean, in this range, there's nothing wrong playing him, especially if you're in a GPP. I think he'll be the lowest owned of this group. But if you're looking for a cash game, I know we were just talking about this. I think JT is by far the safest play in this group, just for pricing as well. But again, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Xander's got top 5 finishes in his last 7 tournaments. So,
oh yeah, he's balling.
Yeah, it's there's a reason he's priced there. I'm in with y'all with JT. I just feel like overall he gives a better shot of winning than Xander. But I don't think Xander's necessarily mispriced based on his body of play. I mean, the dude's been super, super good for a good stretch. So
yeah,
I mean, strokes gained in almost every category, every tournament. The past 7 tournaments, like I said. So
yeah, for the cash game approach, taking Dustin's role here, Webb Simpson is where I think you should start, in my opinion, from this top range. He's got a second here, a first, tied 14th. He's gonna hit the little fairway wood, 3 wood down the middle, and do good things. And I do think the pricing is pretty soft on the 7K range, and even there's a lot of good 6K guys. So you can, in theory, play 2 guys in this range if you want to go stars and scrubs. But let's make our way down to Hideki Mats, all the way down to Zalatoris now, the young phenom who's been talked up and touted up. Everybody's claiming that they've played him for the last 2 years and known about him since he was in middle school, Price included. But I will say Price.
Hey, I did have the balls to recommend him in our main lineup to everybody at the U.S. Open. And I didn't really see anybody else say, hey, plug him in if you're making one lineup, play Zalatoris, except us.
Single bullet Zalatoris. That was ballsy. Paid off.
I've never played Will Zalatoris. Probably why I haven't won any money, but dude's good, man. He's he has a million top tens in his last million starts.
So good.
Yeah.
So my nemesis is now priced 9,300 and Harris freaking English, who I fade every single time except twice in the last 8 months. He's missed a freaking cut both times I've recommended playing him and played him.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but I'm going to say don't play him. He's going to finish top 15 this week.
I think this range is super tough. The 9K range, the 8K range, there are a lot of different directions you can go, but it's not like there's any one person that just like stands out to be the guy in those ranges. I mean, for me, choosing a 9K guy, it would have to be Berger. For me, he has his stats are there. He has 2 top 10s to start the year, and then he's finished 9th, 11th, and 7th 3 out of his last 4 years here. And so guys really been playing well. And 9,600, I do think he'll be popular, but with Matsuyama right there above him, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards that. And it's not like you can have 2-3 guys in this range. You're going to have to pick your spot. But I really love Berger this week. If I was fading the 10K range, I would be starting with Berger and working my way down.
So what are your thoughts on Ryan Palmer? As his tournament history here is not good, but he's been on fire. He's got a second, a fourth, another fourth.
Yeah, man.
And he's been balling.
Really well. Yeah, he's been playing really well. And I think when you look at kind of everything that he's been doing, he's definitely in play here for $9,200. It's just one of those things where you have to ignore kind of his track record here and go with kind of current form. And so for me, I think he's in play. I'd much rather play him than Harris, than, no offense, Scotty Scheffler. But again, when you're reaching for Berger, reaching for Rory or JT, it's not like you can choose too many guys.
For sure.
Yeah, it makes a 9K range really difficult. I think everybody wants to play JT, Rory, Rahm. And
yeah, exactly.
I think Berger is the best 9K play.
Yeah, unless you're like reaching down low or having a bunch of 7K guys, which I think is in play this week. I think that high 9K range is going to be avoided. You're going to have to choose the Rory, the JT, or like the Berger and the Matsuyama. You're not going to pick 2 of them.
Or you can just fall all the way down to the low price Brooks Koepka at 8,800 and just plug and play him, because that's an insane price. I think you said also you can get him 50-1 on the books.
You can have him.
So that's crazy. But 8,800 is still, you think his ownership is going to be pretty raised because of that?
No, honestly, I think that he's going to be a guy that people bet 50-1. He's not going to be a guy that everybody's hammering on DraftKings. He's been playing awful, man. And if he hits the driver like he did last week, he's going to be marshmallow hunting in the desert all week. So,
so he's gonna be like Dustin out there. Hey man, did you see my ball?
Wish I could deny that, but it's true. Nitro.
Yeah. So funny story. Chris hits one, shanks it into the woods and walks up. He's like, oh, look, there's my ball in the middle of the fairway. It's a Nitro. This dude plays Pro V1s we find on the course every round. And all of a sudden, no, I was playing a Nike Nitro this whole time.
Nitro.
Dude, it hit off the tree.
They hit
off the middle of the fairway.
That tree so hard, change the logo.
Yeah, change the logo. I swear that was mine. They had the same number
Bubba
one
this week.
I like him this week. I think a lot of he picks and chooses his events. He has a decent track record here. I think he's going to be lower owned coming off that missed cut, but T3, T4 last 2 years. And from a model perspective, I typically run a rolling report. I know everybody on here has Fantasy National, understands. I typically put all of my stuff, so strokes gained, just overall approach, opportunities, and I put it into a rolling model. So it's going to give me the last 50 rounds, 24 rounds, 12 rounds, 8 rounds, and I try to see who's kind of like trending in the right direction. Bubba is not trending in the right direction, but his track record here is good. I think this course kind of suits him. He likes the way it plays. So I like Bubba at 8.5. I think this 8K range is kind of like a dead zone for me, besides Bubba and Gary Woodland, to be honest with you.
I like Billy Horschel a lot too, who's right in between them. I don't think anyone's going to touch him after last week, but he rates out well and he's played fairly decent here. I mean, last 5 years, he hasn't missed a cut. But I wanted to play Matt Wolff, but he doesn't have the greatest history, and he just withdrew with the hand injury. So I kind of nixes him. And Brooks playing like crap. I think you're right. This is going to be a big dead zone.
I think Gary Woodland's going to be super
chalk.
Yeah.
Why don't y'all like Henley?
Because he cost me money last time out, so I hate him now.
They got all these fairway bunkers at like 285 right in his range.
I know. That's the funny thing. You look at last week when he missed the cut, it was because he was bad off the tee. When the previous 4 or 5 tournaments, he's been really good. So,
but if you look, every odd year he finishes top 16 or better.
I know, but he rates out really well in my model, and just going off, obviously the outlier last week with him having bad form off the tee, when he's been really good, most of the year and leading up to it. So he's in my wheelhouse for looking at. I think he can get some good value there if I go at somebody in that lower 8K range.
So I think the 7K range is where it's going to be this week, though.
Yeah, there's so many good plays at the 7K range, and it starts from up top with Max Homa, who is a Twitter icon. But he's been playing really well. Last year, he got 6th place here, I believe. Yep. He got 6th here last year. I love his game. The one thing is digging into his stats a little bit is off the tee. The last 2 tournaments, even though he's placed 21st and 18th, he's lost 2 strokes. So that's kind of giving me a little pause. Or he can correct that. You never know. Have a good range session and turn that around. But I'm a little pause for concern there. But he's playing really well. Sub 8K guy. I think he's a good play there.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites this week. I love Homa.
What about my boy Sammy Burns from LSU?
Love Sam Burns this week too.
He likes Bermuda. He's played well last week.
Yeah, he has not typically played well here, but I think he's a much different golfer right now. I think he's been playing really well. He's top 30 in my model. What he top 20 last week too. So I like Sam Burns at 7.7.
Just gonna skip over Corey Connors there, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead. Make your case.
I mean, the dude's been playing really well. Obviously, not a ton of tournament history, but I just think a guy coming in with a lot of confidence. He's right at that price range where you can get him in there and get a really solid golfer for his price. So I mean, I'm definitely going to be looking at him a ton. But he's one that sticks out to me in the upper 7K range. I like his game. I like where it's at, and I think he can play well here.
And he loses the least amount of strokes on Bermuda of any of the greens too, which for an atrocious putter that has to come into play and give him a little confidence booster too.
I think we can just go one by one. It seems like down the 7K range with Carlos Ortiz, who had a great 3 rounds, and I wanted to fade him in round 4 showdown, but just didn't have the balls to do it. And he's a guy who's really hit or miss. So definitely not a cash game play, but he can go low. He has a couple. One stat I don't really like. His proximity 150 to 175 is something I'm looking at, In my model, he's 109th on that. So not a huge fan of that. But Carlos Ortiz at 7,800 is someone who can go low and go low often, but he can also blow up.
He's first in my model of strokes gained breaking my heart after having an outright on him last week and him having the 54-hole lead.
Yeah,
it was very sad.
You had an outright on.
I had 5 people in the top 10 going into Sunday, and then Patrick Reed just says, "Nah, you can't make any money this week."
I'm good, bro. I'm so mad on that round 4 showdown. I played Carlos Ortiz, and I should have known Patrick Reed, adversity.
You should have known to do what I said to do and play Zalatoris over Scott.
Well, I'm sorry, I know Zalatoris going to get an eagle on an 18th hole.
Got to know these things.
And Adam Scott just can't hit a driver. Mr. Perfect swing himself.
What about your boy Cam Champ, Chris? 7,600?
No.
I really want to play Chris Kirk this week. I think he has great story. He's been fantastic since he came back, playing lights out. I think he's a guy who's going to not garner very much ownership. I think he's a fantastic play this week.
Yeah,
his ownership just went up 5 points after Bucks. Just yes.
I love it. I love Chris Kirk this week. I mean, I have 7 guys that I love in the 7K range. Obviously, can't play them all, but I think Kirk for me, Homa, those 2 are kind of like, I wouldn't say my locks, but I have them in my lineup right now. So
what about Norlander?
I do have Norlander written down. Top 15s. So here's the names that I wrote down in the 7K range. Homa, Burns, we've already talked about it. Kirk, love it. Norlander, love it. Steele, Knox, and List.
No Munoz?
Dude, you can't write down every name.
I mean, he gave you 7. 7 in the 7K range.
I have, so I don't, my work blocked Fantasy National because they're assholes. But I saw Munoz at 7,100 and just thought he was mispriced.
Yeah. There's a couple of those out there. It would not surprise me that a winning GPP this week is going to have 5 guys in the 7K range, and they plug and play Rory, JT, Rahm, Xander, and one of them has to hit.
Well, when you have the majority of you have 5 great guys here, but the majority of the other studs are over in Europe. I feel like that's a good approach. And if you're going to throw in 20 lineups, is pick your core of 7K guys you love and just rotate at the top. And most weeks, especially after the restart last year, the top end guys were not in the winning lineups. It was all the random people you sprinkled in the middle who went off and actually won.
Yeah, man, for sure. So in that 7K range, who are like 2 guys that you would advocate being in your core?
Benny Ann.
No.
He's number 2 in my model.
I don't care. He'll never be in my core.
Listen to Chris.
Okay. Benny Ann.
He would miss a putt from me to you on this computer screen.
I saw Zalatoris, your boy, miss about 3 3-foot.
I saw him sink that eagle.
Did you? First off, his putting stroke, Bucks, as a former PGA professional, I know there's a million putting strokes out there, but my God, that is awful. Have you seen his putting stroke?
Who is Zalatoris?
Zalatoris, yes.
Oh yeah, it's whatever works, whatever gets it. No,
but it's not working. It's awful.
Well,
how can you be that good at striking the golf ball, that elite, and just that?
I don't know.
Benny Ann.
I don't know. Ask Rory. Jesus.
I think Chris Kirk has to be in your core this week. Personally, the dude is playing lights out, and I'm with you on Max Homa.
Yeah,
2 good finishes, and he's just in good form. And I think he's a guy who he struggled a little bit at the end of last year, and now he's you can tell when these younger guys get confident, and it just keeps rolling for him.
I'm gonna fight you over Corey Connors though.
I love Corey Connors, but he's. I mean, how many of these guys can we list who are amazing at everything except putting?
Yeah,
there's so many of them.
I'm telling you, putting is like free throws. It's mental. There's a mental aspect to it.
Golf is like that in general.
Yeah, true.
So I do like. Is somebody going to mention Steele?
Yes,
you did.
Good.
Steele is so good.
3 top 20s here. 3 out of the last 5 years.
He's
y'all don't like the top 20s for Benny Ann. Why does Benny Ann get all the hate for his top 20s? His top sixes.
You can play Benny Ann if you want, Chris.
Remember, you told me round 4 showdown. You can play
Remember, you told me
Molinari.
round 3 showdown. We need to have Benny Ann as our core. He shot 3 over.
Luke.
You know what else? I said, you can play Molly if you want. I'm going to play Ortiz because he was in the lead. And I said, but play Willie Z. So you can argue Molly all you want.
All right. Let's get back on the track.
Welcome to the show, Bucks. Welcome to the show.
Hey, typical.
Actually, this top 6K range is awesome.
Yeah. Tringali
is the
Matt
one.
Jones.
And JT Poston.
What do you think ownership percentage on Charlie Hoffman's going to be?
Like 0.1. They expect him to withdraw.
Dude.
Him
3
in a row. Wolf, right? Like,
I don't know.
Hoffman's withdrawn back-to-back weeks, though.
He's just that guy here that everybody plays every year. It's nuts.
Is he going to play, though?
Well, that's the question.
You know who doesn't pop in my model, but I really want to play is Martin Laird.
Marty Party, you got to play him.
I know. I talked about him 1 week, and that was the week he won.
Got to play him.
But Chris's boy, Fratelli, 6,900.
There's a lot of really, really solid plays down in this range. Yeah. Stewie Snake I like this week. Found an extra 20 yards out of nowhere, apparently.
All these guys seems to have put on a bunch of length.
The one guy that I really, really like,
Mark Hubbard,
is Bo Hogue.
Okay.
6,700, but 2 straight top 20s, super cheap. I think when I look at kind of his trend rolling, he's pretty consistent over the last 12, 8, 4 rounds. So I think for his price, he's right there.
What do you think about James Hahn this week?
I've been a big James Hahn fan for a while. He had a stretch, a year ago, 2 years ago, that he played really, really good. But yeah, he's solid.
And that little fall stretch where he had 3 straight top 10s. I know he missed a cut last week, but I would say kind of take it with a grain of salt last week with the conditions on Friday for most of the guys who did miss the cut. But Hahn is one who pops out to me, who looks like, and I believe he has good course history as well. He has 3 top 25s.
Yeah, solid.
Boy, Zang's down there. Price.
I know. I love
300.
I'm a weirdo who I was like, hey, we need to play this guy named Zhang
for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks straight, and he made the cut and made his money every week.
Zhang.
But he's another guy who, he looks like he does well in Birdie Fest, but I don't think I'd be on him this week personally.
Nah.
Yeah, the only other 2 guys that I'm on down here is Sam Ryder, which I think is super popular, and then Killer Keith Mitchell right under him.
Wow, I didn't realize Doc Redman was down to 6,600.
Doc Redman's killed me.
Not been playing great, but
no, he's.
What about Nate Lashley? He seems to do. I believe he played in Arizona for college, right?
Well, his stats are just trash.
I know. I know.
But when you're tinkering in the 6K range, mid 6K range, I mean, you just got to find that one gem.
I have a feeling Davis Riley's going to have pretty high ownership for someone who's 6,100 as well, just because he's the touts love him from this Corn Ferry Tour.
Him and KHV getting talked up a bunch. Yeah. So.
But Killer Keith rates out fantastic for me.
Yep. Been playing well. Made 3 out of his last 4 cuts here. So solid.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead, Bryce. Who else you got? You got anybody else in the 6K range?
I'd want to play Dahman, but he hasn't been playing very well. But Streelman would probably be the only other one I like. He just seems like he's super steady, and that he should be in like the 7,300 range instead of where he's priced right now. But that's about it. I think we've talked on pretty much everybody else.
Yeah, I think the majority of guys are going to stay in the 7K range and sprinkle in a 9K, 10K guy. I don't think too many will go this low unless they're trying to get like a JT Rory together, which I could see happening. But I mean, there's so many good options in the low 7Ks that I wouldn't condone dipping too far in the 6Ks unless you have to.
For sure. Well, we gotta leave with one last question since you're Mr. GPP. Don't play a lot of double ups. What's like your one tidbit of advice for people that are casual, wanting to get a little bit more in depth in the GPP golf world, as someone who's played for a number of years?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is stick to a budget because it can get out of control quick. Stick to a budget. Pick your contests the right way, because it's nice to play in a Millie Maker or a $5 with a chance to win 150K. But realistically, like the single entries, 3 entry maxes, those are the GPPs that have a better cash line for you. So if you have $50 to play in a couple single entries, and maybe I always throw a lottery ticket in the $5 and $20, that kind of thing. And then outside of that, my personal advice when picking lineups would be to have 2 or 3 guys that you just absolutely love that week and go with it and build lineups around it. I typically only have 3 to 5 lineups every week. I always have the same core, and I'll sprinkle in 2 guys, 3 guys around it that I think have chances. But really, I ride or die with my core guys. So when it hits, it hits. But when it doesn't, moving on.
Yeah, that's for bankroll management, right?
Well, that's it. That's all it's about, is making sure you're not kind of blowing your wad week one so you don't have anything to work with. You gotta be pretty consistent with bankroll management and how you're choosing your lineups. So
yeah, that's one thing I feel like that I've had to grow up a lot with this over the last year, is whenever I feel like I like something way too much, like it looks too great, I just start hammering the enter button and submit lineups. And so that's something I had to learn to take a step back on.
Every lineup looks amazing on Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, they do. All right. Well, we appreciate having you on. It's been a pleasure. I'll have to do it again.
Hopefully, if Kirk, JT, Gary Woodland, Daniel Berger go off this week, you'll have me back sometime.
We'll have you back either way.
My core.
There it is. There's the core from the man. All right. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. It was a pleasure.